Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are not just talking about construction. We're talking about these high stakes, high pressure environments where getting it wrong isn't just a leaky roof.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It means a billion-dollar refinery that just doesn't work. Or worse, a major safety catastrophe.
We're looking at the invisible architecture that really holds the whole industrial world together.
It really is the operating system, isn't it? You see the pipes, you see the steel, but it's the contracts that make the whole thing actually move.
And today, we're looking at a major update to that operating system.
That's right. The IEP Blue Book, the first edition, which came out in 2023.
Now, I know the words contract law can sometimes act as a sedative for people, but stick with us.
Please do.
Because this book, the Blue Book, it's actually a solution to a problem that's been plaguing the industry for decades. They're framing it as the missing puzzle piece for process plants.
It really was missing.
Yeah.
But before we get there, you have to understand the landscape. The Institution of Chemical Engineers, IChemE, they have a thing for color coding.
They really do, don't they?
It's basically a rainbow of risk. They started way back in 1968 with the Red Book. That's for lump sum contracts. I'll build this for one fixed price.
Okay.
Then you got the Green Book for reimbursable, where you pay for costs as they come in. Then the Burgundy Book for target costs.
So you have red, green, burgundy. Why on earth did we need blue? What was the gap?
The gap was a very specific delivery method called EPCM. For the longest time, there just wasn't a standard form for it.
So what were people doing?
They were improvising. Imagine you're a big pharmaceutical company, and you want to build a new plant using this method. You'd have to take a red book or a green book, sort of hack it apart, paste in new clauses.
And you end up with a Frankenstein contract.
Exactly, a Frankenstein contract. And they almost always turn on their creators.
I can imagine.
They're messy, they're full of contradictions, they lead to huge disputes. So the 2023 Blue Book is the industry finally saying, okay, enough. Here is the standard for EPCM.
Let's drill into that acronym right now, because if we don't get this, the whole conversation is just noise. EPCM.
Engineering, Procurement, and Construction Management.
Right. Now, to the uninitiated, and I was in this camp at first, that sounds an awful lot like a general contractor. You hire them, they build the plant.
And that is the trap.
Yeah.
That's the fatal misconception.
Okay.
If you hire an EPCM contractor thinking they're going to be pouring the concrete, you are in for a massive shock. The key, the absolute key, is the M.
Management.
Management. Under the Blue Book, the EPCM contractor provides professional services. They do the engineering, the design, they do the procurement acting as your agent to buy all the equipment, and they manage the site. But they do not do the construction.
Okay, help me visualize this. I'm the client, the purchaser, as the contract calls me. I'm building my refinery. I hire the EPCM firm, who is actually swinging the hammer.
Works contractors.
Right.
These are the specialists, the civil guys pouring foundations, the mechanical installers, the electrical teams. But here's the twist that trips everyone up. Those works contractors do not sign a contract with the EPCM firm. They sign directly with you, the purchaser.
Wait, hold on. So I'm the client. And instead of having one big contract with a builder, I've got, 20, 30 different contracts on my desk?
Oh, easily. The Blue Book actually has this great little diagram in the intro, a triangle of relationships. You're at the top, the EPCM contractors on one side managing, the works contractors are at the bottom building. But the contractual link for all the physical work goes straight from them to you.
That seems incredibly risky for me as the client. I mean, the whole logic of construction is one throat to choke.
Right.
You want one big contractor, so if the roof leaks, you know exactly who to sue. Why would anyone voluntarily do this?
2 words: money and control. If you hire one giant contractor for everything, that's an EPC turnkey project, that contractor takes on a massive amount of risk. If steel prices spike, if the ground's harder than they thought, it's their problem.
And they charge you for taking on that problem.
They charge a massive premium for it. You're paying them to insure that risk. In an EPCM model, the Blue Book model, you, the purchaser, you hold on to more of that risk, but you avoid that huge premium. And critically, your EPCM contractor is acting purely as your representative.
So they're on my side of the table.
100%.
Yeah.
In a traditional build, the contractor wants to save money on concrete to boost their own profit. In EPCM, the manager doesn't personally care about the price of concrete. They just care about getting you the best result on your behalf.
It's like the difference between hiring a caterer who does everything for a flat fee versus hiring a wedding planner.
That's a perfect analogy.
The planner hires the caterer, the florist, the band, all for you. You pay those vendors directly, but the planner is the one making sure they show up and don't burn the food.
That's it, exactly. And the legal liability follows that structure. If the steak is burnt, you don't sue the wedding planner for the bad meat, you go after the caterer.
And this is the important part.
But if the wedding planner forgot to tell the caterer you needed steak in the first place, or told them to serve it 3 hours late, that's on the planner.
So the Blue Book is the rule book for the wedding planner, for the EPCM contractor.
Yes. And it makes a point to say these duties are more extensive than a normal consultant. They're not just in an office giving advice. They're on-site in the mud, coordinating safety, schedule, quality. They're the conductor of the whole orchestra.
Okay, let's talk about the tone of this conductor then, because when I was reading the general conditions, especially Clause 2, I was really struck by the language. It felt weirdly human for a legal document.
Ah, you're talking about Clause 2.2.
Fairly openly and in good faith.
The famous IChemE good faith clause.
Is that actually enforceable? I mean, or is it just some kumbaya language to make everyone feel good before the lawsuits begin? Because usually construction contracts are weapons.
In the wider construction world, you're right, it can be very adversarial.
Mm-hmm.
But the process industry is just different. The Blue Book is explicit that the relationship should not be adversarial. And there's a very practical reason for that. If you're building an office block and the contractor cuts a corner, maybe the floor is a bit uneven. It's annoying, but the building stands.
Right.
If you are building a high-pressure chemical reactor and the specs are off by a tiny fraction, the plant doesn't work. Or worse, it explodes.
So the stakes are binary. It works or it fails catastrophically.
Exactly. You can't lawyer a chemical reaction into happening. So if the purchaser and the EPCM contractor are hiding things from each other, if they're playing poker with information, the project is doomed. The technology itself demands cooperation.
That makes a lot of sense. It's not let's be friends, it's we have to share data or this thing becomes a billion-dollar paperweight.
And that's what drives the disclosure rules in the Blue Book. You have a duty to promptly tell the other party about anything that might stop the project from being completed. You can't just sit on bad news.
Which brings us to the biggest source of good and bad news: money.
Clause 3, the choice of pricing arrangements.
This part felt like a choose-your-own-adventure for contracts. It gives you 3 totally different ways to pay the contractor.
And depending which one you pick, the entire risk profile of a contract just shifts radically. You've got reimbursable, lump sum, and target cost.
Okay, let's break these down, because if you're a listener planning a big project, this is probably the single biggest decision you'll make. Let's start with reimbursable. This is basically cost plus, yeah.
It is. You pay the EPCM contractor for every hour their engineers work, plus their overheads, plus a fee for profit.
From the client side, that sounds terrifying. It's the blank check nightmare. What's their incentive to ever finish?
And that is the downside. The purchaser takes all the risk on the final cost. If the contractor is inefficient, you pay for that inefficiency.
But there has to be an upside.
The upside is total flexibility. You can start the project tomorrow without a finished design, and you, the client, you keep complete control. If you want to change the layout halfway through, fine, you just pay for the hours. No big argument.
Okay, so maximum flexibility, but maximum cost risk for me. What about the complete opposite? Option B, lump sum.
The fixed price. The contractor says, I'll manage this whole thing, do the design, for exactly $10 million.
That sounds much safer for my budget. I know exactly what I'm writing on the check.
It gives you that certainty, yes.
Yeah.
But the Blue Book itself gives a really specific warning about this. To sign a lump sum deal, you need a complete definition of the scope. You have to know exactly what you want before you even start.
Which, for a complex chemical plant that takes 4 years to build, is almost impossible to know on day one.
It's incredibly hard.
Sure.
And the moment you get it wrong or you discover something unexpected, the contractors will hit you with variation orders. And that fixed price just disappears.
There was a deeper point in the notes, too, a philosophical one. The phrase divergent interests.
Ah, yes. Divergent interests. That's a very polite way of saying we are now enemies.
It sounds like it.
Think about the psychology. Once that price is fixed, every single dollar I spend as the contractor comes directly out of my own profit. My motivation instantly shifts from build the best possible plant to protect my margin at all costs.
So I want the absolute best safety system, and you want the cheapest one that just barely meets the code.
Precisely. My motivation is cost protection. Yours is project success. They have diverged. And on a high-hazard site, that could be a really dangerous mindset.
Which is why the Blue Book, and it seems the whole industry, is pushing towards this third option, target cost.
The Goldilocks solution.
It really is. Explain how this aligns that psychology.
So you set a target budget, let's say $10 million. If the contractor comes in under budget, say they do it for $9 million, you both split the savings. That's the gain share.
Okay, I like that.
But if they go over, say it ends up costing $11 million, you both share that extra cost. That's the pain share.
Pain share. Sounds like a wrestling move.
Yeah.
But it completely solves that motivation problem, doesn't it?
Totally. All of a sudden, we are both looking at the same spreadsheet with the same goal. If the contractor finds a smarter, cheaper way to do the piping design, they make more profit, and you save money. Our interests are aligned. We're in the same boat.
The source material had this great table comparing them, and one point on lump sum just jumped out. It said it diverts attention to low bid price rather than technical merit.
That is the classic procurement trap. If you ask for a fixed price, you are almost forced to take the cheapest bid, but you have to ask, why are they cheap?
Right.
Usually it's because they've underestimated the complexity or they're planning to use a junior team. With target cost, you're looking at their capability, their ideas. You're not just buying a number, you're buying a partner.
Okay, so we've got the structure, the philosophy, the money. Let's get into the weeds now. The nitty-gritty clauses that govern the day-to-day. You pointed out a few that are surprisingly specific. Like Clause 1.8.
Yes, the notices clause.
You called it the 500 PM rule.
I did, and it catches people out all the time.
Walk us through it, because it felt a little bit petty to me at first.
So in contract administration, if you want to make a claim or object to something, you have to send a formal notice. Clause 1.8 says it has to be in writing, delivered to the official address. But then it says, if that notice arrives after 5:00 p.m. on a business day,
It counts as the next day.
it's deemed to have arrived at 9:00 a.m. the next working day.
So if I have a deadline to object to a massive change order by Tuesday, and I send that email at 5:05 p.m. on Tuesday,
Legally, your email arrived on Wednesday morning. You missed. This is Clause 3.2, the standard of care. And this is so important for you to understand. The EPCM contractor is not promising a perfect design.
they aren't. That feels like a massive loophole. Oops, I tried my best. Sorry about the explosion.
It's not a loophole. It's the legal difference between fitness for purpose and reasonable skill and care. If you buy a toaster, it has to toast bread. That's fitness for purpose. But professional services, doctors, lawyers, engineers, it's different.
How so?
A doctor doesn't guarantee you'll be cured. They guarantee they will treat you with the skill of a competent doctor. Same here. The EPCM firm promises to act with the reasonable skill and care you'd expect from a qualified and competent company in their field.
So if they make a design error, but it was an error any competent engineer might have made, they might not be liable.
That's right. They're not guaranteeing a perfect result. They're guaranteeing their competence. But before you think they get off easy, there's another clause that pulls them back in.
Which one?
Clause 3.5. I call it the speak-up obligation.
I love this clause. It forces them to be proactive.
It does. It says the EPCM contractor must promptly notify you, the purchaser, if they see a way to eliminate a hazard, improve the life cycle costs, speed up the schedule, or benefit you in any other way.
Even if it's not strictly in their original scope?
Yes, even if it's not their job. If you're walking past a part of the plant you're not even working on and you see a way to save the client money or fix a safety issue, you are contractually obligated to open your mouth. You can't just say, not my job, not my problem.
That is really powerful. It creates a kind of duty to innovate.
Or a duty to care for the entire project. It reinforces that whole partnership idea. You're being hired for your expertise, so use it. If you stay silent while the client makes a mistake, you're actually in breach of contract.
There's another really strict one, too. Clause 3.11 on conflict of interest.
Hugely important. Remember, these people are buying millions of dollars of equipment for you. They're spending your money.
Right, so they can't be buying all the valves from their cousin's company.
Or from a subsidiary they secretly own, unless they declare it. And the clause covers actual and perceived conflicts. Even if the deal is totally legit, if it looks shady, they have to put it on the table. The trust has to be absolute.
Okay, zooming out a bit, we're looking at this as one document, but it's really more like a kit of parts, isn't it? It's modular.
That's a great way to put it. You have the general conditions, the main rules, but then you have these books within the book. Part A is for UK-specific laws. Part B is all the mechanics for the target cost model. You only bolt that on if you choose that option.
And Part C is where you put all the project specifics.
But the real work, and I can't stress this enough, is in the schedules. You cannot just sign the Blue Book and start work. You have to populate those schedules. Health and safety, quality assurance, training, spare parts.
The list looked massive.
It is. That's where the rubber meets the road. The general conditions might say manage safety, but the schedule says how. What reports, how often, what metrics do we use? If you leave the schedules blank, the contract is completely toothless.
There was one final warning in the notes that I thought was great advice. It basically said, don't mess with our general conditions.
Users are strongly advised not to modify. It's a classic warning in these standard forms.
Why are they so protective? It feels a bit like they're saying, don't touch our perfect art.
It's not about art. It's about the ecosystem. The drafting committee spent years carefully balancing the risk in those clauses. If your lawyer comes in and strikes out one sentence in Clause 12 because they think it's too lenient, they might accidentally invalidate a liability cap in Clause 16 that they didn't even see.
It's like a game of Jenga. You pull out one block and the whole tower could fall.
That's exactly it. Stick to the special conditions if you need to add project-specific things, but leave the core engine, the general conditions, alone. It's designed to be fair, and if you tilt it too far in your favor, you break that good faith mechanism we talked about at the very beginning.
So, bringing this all together then, the IChemE Blue Book 2023 edition, it's the first standard for EPCM. It separates building from managing. It champions cooperation because, frankly, these plants are too complex and dangerous for conflict. And it gives you that brilliant menu of money to dial in the risk.
It's a very modern contract. It accepts that projects are too complex for any one company to have all the answers. It forces collaboration.
And the relevance goes way beyond just oil refineries.
Oh, absolutely. If you're building a data center, a big pharma facility, any massive infrastructure project, these principles apply. That idea of gain share, pain share, that's brilliant for any high-stakes collaboration.
And that speak-up obligation in Clause 3.5.
I mean, can you imagine if every consultant you hired felt contractually obligated to point out ways to save you money or improve things?
The world would be a much more efficient place.
It certainly would.
Before we wrap, I want to leave our listeners with a thought I've been mulling over since we talked about the pricing. The Blue Book itself explicitly warns that under a lump sum model, the contractor's interests diverge from the purchaser's.
The divergence of interest. It's a key concept.
It is. And if contracts are tools to align human behavior, to make people act properly, it makes me wonder, is the fixed price contract the one everyone loves because it feels safe? Is it actually inherently flawed for complex work? Does it actually encourage people to cut corners?
That's the provocative question, isn't it? We crave the certainty of that fixed price, but the price of that certainty might actually be the quality of the work itself. If I'm losing money on your job, am I going to put my best people on it?
Probably not. Whereas the reimbursable or target cost model, which requires this, scary level of trust, that might actually be the only way to get a truly honest result.
If we're not sharing the risk, are we really partners? I think that's the fundamental question the Blue Book is asking.
Something to think about next time you sign any contract, even just for a kitchen remodel. Are you and your contractor aligned, or have your interests already diverged?
Check your clauses.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll catch you on the next one.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and see next time.